Hello friends, you are watching 3A's Vision, an innovative distance learning channel. We have started a series of videos about international financial reporting standards and international accounting standards, followed one by one. It is most important and desired that if you are interested in improving your learnings in international financial reporting standards and international accounting standards, subscribe to our channel and click on bell icon to get our future updates. Dear friends, in preparation of IFRS 1 video, we tried our level best to cover the maximum matter of discussion, which will be helpful to understand the IFRS 1. Therefore, keeping in view length of this video, we have split up the video of this standard in different parts to control its time length. Therefore, to get complete knowledge, watch its all parts. Hello friends, in part 5th of IFRS 1 last video, we will discuss about the last element of the IFRS 1, that is other components of financial statements. The fourth element of IFRS 1, that is other components of financial statements. This section addresses the accounting for a number of different financial statement components on first time adoption. These areas are not necessarily specifically affected by IFRS 1's exceptions and exemptions, but implementation issues still frequently rises in practice. Number 1, intangible assets. Number 2, impairment of assets. Number 3, inventories. Number 4, construction contracts. Number 5, provisions. And finally the number 6, income taxes. The first component is intangible assets. The opening IFRS statement of financial position should exclude all intangible assets and other intangible items that do not meet the recognition criteria in IAS 38 at the date of transition to IFRS, and include all intangible assets that meet the recognition criteria in IAS 38 at the date of transition to IFRS, except for intangible assets acquired in a business combination that were not recognized in the acquirer's consolidated statement of financial position under previous GAAP, and also would not qualify for recognition under IAS 38 in the separate statement of financial position of the acquiree. The criteria in IAS 38 require an entity to recognize an intangible asset if and only if it is probable that the future economic benefits that are attributable to the assets will flow to the entity, and the cost of asset can be measured reliably. The second component is impairment of assets. It has 7 main elements that are: number 1, impairment testing at date of transition. Number 2, determination of cash generating units. Number 3, goodwill. Number 4, intangible assets with identified useful lives. Number 5, recognition of impairment losses at date of transition. Number 6, reversals of impairment losses. And lastly, number 7, disclosures. First of all, impairment testing at date of transition. A first-time adopter is required to comply with IAS 36 at the date of transition. At this date, the first-time adopter performs an impairment test on goodwill and intangible assets with identified useful lives, regardless of whether an indication of impairment exists, determines whether there are any indications that other assets, group of assets, or cash generating units are impaired at the date of transition, performs an impairment test on assets, group of assets, or cash generating units for which indications of impairment have been identified, recognizes any impairment losses in retained earnings, and finally reverses any impairment losses that no longer exist at that date except for previously recognized impairment losses on goodwill. The second element of impairment of assets, that is determination of cash generating units. A cash generating unit is the smallest identifiable group of assets that generates cash inflows that are largely independent of the cash inflows from other assets or group of assets. A first-time adopter may in practice find it difficult to identify its cash generating units. However, in identifying a cash generating unit, a first-time adopter considers at the date of transition those inflows of cash and cash equivalents that flow from parties outside the entity. To determine whether the cash flows are largely independent of other cash flows, the entity considers matters such as the method of managing cash flows in relation to an impression and how the results of these operations are reported to management. If an active market exists for the output produced by an asset or group of assets, the asset or group of assets is identified as a cash generating unit, irrespective of whether some or all of the output of the entity is used internally. The third element of impairment of assets, that is goodwill. Under IFRS 3, goodwill is not amortized but is tested for impairment on an annual basis. Goodwill allocated to the identified cash generating unit is tested for impairment at the date of transition and subsequently annually, regardless of whether or not there is an indication that it may be impaired. Under IAS 36, goodwill is allocated to identified cash generating units. That represents the lowest level at which goodwill is mentioned by management and is not larger than an operating segment as determined in accordance with IFRS 8 operating segments. Measurement of impairment losses is based on the same estimates applied under previous GAAP unless there is objective evidence that those estimates were incorrect or not in accordance with IFRS. The fourth element of impairment of assets, that is intangible assets with indefinite useful lives. Intangible assets are designated at the date of transition to have indefinite useful lives, are also tested for impairment under IAS 36 at the date of transition and subsequently annually by comparing carrying amounts with recoverable amounts. The fifth element of impairment of assets, that is recognition of impairment losses at date of transition. In assessing the need to recognize an impairment loss and in measuring any such impairment loss at the date of transition to IFRS, it may be necessary to make estimates that were not required under previous GAAP. Such estimates and assumptions should not reflect conditions that arose after the date of transition to IFRS. A first-time adopter is not permitted subsequent to the date of transition to reverse any impairment losses on goodwill. The sixth element of impairment of assets, that is reversals of impairment losses. IAS 36 requires the reversals of impairment losses in some cases. If the opening IFRS statement of financial position reflects impairment losses, any later reversal of those losses should be reflected in profit or loss, except when IAS 36 requires them to be treated as a revaluation. This applies to both impairment losses recognized under previous GAAP and to additional impairment losses recognized on transition or to IFRS. The seventh element of impairment of assets, that is disclosures. The first IFRS financial statements should include the disclosures that IAS 36 would have required if the impairment losses or reversals had been recognized in the period beginning with the date of transition to IFRS. The third component of financial statements under IFRS 1, that is inventories. There are no exceptions or exemptions in IFRS 1 regarding the accounting treatment of inventories, and thus a first-time adopter must apply IAS 2 retrospectively in accordance with the general principle of IFRS 1. If a first-time adopter did not capitalize production overheads under previous GAAP, this requirement may be onerous. because the first time adopter is required to go back in the past and allocate production overheads to inventories. The fourth component of financial statements under IFRS 1, that is construction contracts. The measurement of construction contracts involve the use of estimates to some extent. For example, estimating total contract revenues, total contract cost, and the percentage of completion. A first-time adopter's estimates under IFRS should be consistent with the estimates made for the same debt under previous GAAP, unless there is objective evidence that those estimates were in error. Thus, the entity does not adjust construction contracts at the date of transition to reflect changes in the estimates of the stage of completion due to information received after the original estimate was made. The fifth component of financial statements, that is provisions. There are no exceptions or exemptions in IFRS 1 relating to provisions. Therefore, the general principle in IFRS 1 of retrospective application of the IFRS is effective at the reporting date applies to provisions, except that a first-time adopter may apply the transitional provisions of IFRS 1. Sixth and the last component of financial statements of IFRS 1, that is income taxes. A deferred tax liability or deferred tax asset is recognized for all temporary differences except to the extent that they arise from number 1, the initial recognition of goodwill, or number 2, goodwill for which amortization is not deductible for tax purposes, or number 3, the initial recognition of an asset or liability in a transaction which is not a business combination and at the time of the transaction affects neither accounting profit nor taxable profit or tax loss. In addition, deferred tax assets are recognized in the statement of financial position only to the extent that it is probable that there will be sufficient taxable profit in the future to enable the assets to be recovered. At the end, we warmly welcome your valuable comments. Thanks and goodbye.